Welcome to the Voodoo Power Podcast.
I can't believe you were willing to do this on a holiday.
That's probably the only way, man. My son's my kid's schedule is kind of out of control with baseball, tennis, traveling. What state are you in again?
Missouri.
Well, you're in Missouri, so I know I'm getting so many text messages from my wife and kids. I think I'm going to Boston in like a week or two. I think Boston in a week, Georgia in 2 weeks. My son will be in Kentucky. Then we're finally meet on our family vacation. It's gonna be nuts, but it'll be all good, man. So
you chasing baseball?
Yeah, he plays baseball, and my daughter plays tennis. And so yeah, man, baseball, interesting sport, very like precision, power, and like gets in their head. So it's interesting, man.
We chase softball all over the country with my daughter.
Oh, how old is she? Because my niece is big softball.
Well, she just graduated. Now she's 20.
Oh, okay.
She's just shy of 21. So.
Oh, where'd she go to school?
She went to school at a college here in Central Missouri. Just a small community college, and she was really being scouted hard when she was a freshman and sophomore.
Yeah.
And then she waned a little on just what she wanted out of life, and
yeah.
So, but I got some questions. I don't know how it'll go.
It'll go great, bro. Dude, guess what?
What?
First off, I love the logo.
Thank you.
It's awesome. So I was like, man, and I don't mind that. It's like I like that we're already kind of going like raw interview. It's not so perfect. I kind of hate when it's all perfect.
Right.
So I was like, man, I've been waking up at 5 a.m., going to bed late, like getting burned in the sun. I'm like, maybe I'll sleep. I don't know what time I woke up, but I think it was like 6:30 without the alarm. So I go to make coffee, and I got to put a little bit of milk in there, and I'm like, oh, man, we don't have any milk. So I had egg beaters because I've been making like protein shakes with egg beaters. I call it like the anabolic protein shake. So I was like, I don't know who I saw do it, but I must have seen it. Somebody put some egg in their coffee. So I made coffee, and I put a little bit of egg beaters in it. So I got like an anabolic cup of coffee going.
Is it any good?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
With the egg in there? I didn't know if it would be or not.
I never do egg beaters, but I wanted to add. So like normally I'll make a protein shake with water, Thorn protein powder, almond butter, maybe peanut butter, raw honey. And then I live in a little beach town, but not far from me is farms. So I drive like not even, 12 minutes away, and people are selling eggs from like the those large like boxes in front of their house. Those eggs are infinitely better, as you know. I mean, you live on a farm. It's like I wanted to, so I got to get back there today, pick up some eggs, but I saw somebody do it. So I normally put those eggs, the ones I pick up from the local people, in my protein shake. I made a YouTube video called Anabolic Protein Shake. So it's the water, it's the 2 raw eggs, and then that other protein stuff I was telling you about. But I've also done it with raw milk. And so I'm like, man, I wish I was doing this when I was 15. I'd be a monster.
And that's the one thing I haven't had in a long, long time is like raw milk.
Really? So what animals do you have on your farm?
Right now, I just have horses.
It's awesome.
We had chickens there for a while. My daughters got older, and so the chickens all got old, and we don't have chickens. We had some here a while back, and then we lost some to some raccoons. So I never went back with them. But
predators, yeah. By the way, if you see me looking down, I'm just taking notes. So after you post this, can you share the audio video with me? I'll cross post it if you're okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'll put it on a Google Drive, and we'll
awesome.
We'll get it figured out.
Yeah.
All right, let me make sure I have everything. I wrote a bio. Well, I kind of copied a bio. It's not
whatever
awesome.
You want.
It's not awesome, and then we'll see where it goes. But I only read it one time pre-show, and then you come on, so I may stumble.
Whatever you want.
I'm gonna stumble through it.
I'm gonna do all of this. I don't want anything edited.
Right. I don't edit too much. And now if somebody says something, they're like, I don't like the way I said that. Yeah, we'll edit that. But
Yeah, well, you're smarter than me. I wouldn't even know how to do it. So,
well, it's been quite the fiasco figuring all this out. So
I'm good to go.
All right. Welcome to Plates and Pancakes. We're sitting down today with Zach Evanesh. Zach is the New Jersey State Director of the NHSSCA. He is the owner of the Underground Strength. See, I already screwed it up. God dang it. Yeah. Welcome to Plates and Pancakes. We're sitting down today with Zach Evanesh. Zach is the New Jersey State Director for the NHSSCA. He is the owner of the Underground Strength Gym and the creator of the Underground Strength Coach Certificate. He was the head strength and conditioning coach for the University of Rutgers Wrestling. He was also the head strength and conditioning coach for Lehigh University Wrestling. He is SSPC certified and has a CSCS. He has published numerous articles and multiple books, including his just released book, Iron Journey, and that is doing very well on Amazon. So, welcome to the show, Zach.
Thanks, my brother. Good to be here.
Man, it took a little while to get this worked out with as busy as you are, but I appreciate the time.
Yeah, my schedule. I had a guy visit my gym yesterday who's a assistant strength coach at a private school about like 30 minutes south. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do a podcast tomorrow. They asked me if I'm coaching. And they're like, oh, that's awesome. They're like, how often you do them? I'm like, I have a hard time doing them during the school year because I coach at a high school. By the time I get home in the evening, I'm like, man, I just want to shut it down. When I was younger, not that I'm so old now, I'm 47, I would work till midnight. You know, I'd be at the school, then I'd run my gym. I would train at 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. I don't know how I did that after like teaching 6 elementary phys ed classes, coaching 4 groups at my gym, and then train. I don't even know, man. Crazy.
Well, that kind of goes in, I guess, to my leadoff question, because I'd sat down and watched. You were on Dave Tate's Table Talk, which is just one of the best podcasts I've ever watched, and you,
best.
Yeah, you guys just did an unbelievable job. But you talked about being on there and with everything you've accomplished and everything you've done, all the articles, all the training, everything. You talked about just being scared to death the whole time it wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
How was you kind of able to overcome being scared and making it all work at the same time?
Well, you need a little bit of that fear to keep pushing you, because if you're like, this will all work, like if you're just so confident and you never have your back against the wall, even now, like technically, you know, I'm a full-time strength coach at a high school. So I have a quote unquote backup plan, but I've always had multiple irons in the fire on purpose. So if I ever wanted to say F you and walk away from something, I could. So if the gym is just, if something happens to the gym, let's say, you know, like a common thing is your landlord, you know, you have a short-term lease and your landlord pulls the lease out of you. Okay. So what? I've got online. I've got full-time strength and conditioning at the high school. I'm being paid a salary. Let's say at the high school, they're like, you know, we're releasing you for whatever reason. So what? I've got the online business and the gym. You know, there's anything, you could cancel anything on me. Although there is a lot of power to being focused on doing one thing. I've just never done it that way. It would probably be better if I just focused on the gym. If I just focused on the gym, certain things would change. Like I would really be pushing more than I've done before to buy a building or buy a piece of property and get it in the back, or buy a warehouse. And that way, if the gym, I ever want to close it or sell it, I now own the property and I'm making money that way. And I would be training adults, because training athletes is so fickle. I mean, yesterday was such a crazy day at my gym with new athletes coming in, trials, 2 kids coming in, but they're only here for the summer before they go to their prep schools, which are out of state. I mean, it was nuts. And I was thinking to myself, teaching other young guys how to be strength coaches is so hard. You know, I know I'm bouncing around already, but this is an important topic, because It was never like this. It was so easy, in my opinion, to train athletes. Yesterday, we had a guy we train who hadn't been in for a month. He's a state trooper. We started training him in the rehab process after his second knee surgery. His first knee surgery did not go well. Second surgery / rehab was not going well. He was following us on Instagram. Well, he went to his last day of physical therapy, and the health insurance company needed him to do some sort of like hop test, like a broad jump on one foot. He did it, just kind of like whatever. And then the PT was like, let's do that one more time. He does it and does something to his knee and crashes to the ground. He's out for a month. He's like, I was on the floor in agony. He's like, I think I damaged my knee again. So now it's like, all right, I'm a strength coach, but now I'm doing like isometrics with him, and like I'm doing like physical therapy activity with him. And I'm not a physical therapist, but as a strength coach, you need to do that. Then we had another kid who was in for his first day. He has a torn labrum. So now it's like, okay, we're not going to full range bench him. We're not going to overhead press him. So myself and the staff need to know how to build the upper back, how to avoid aggravating his labrum. He's had shoulder dislocations multiple times during the last wrestling season. He's going to be a senior. So now all the pressure's on us. Then we got a girl who's a softball player, and it's travel ball now. She was going to practice that night. I can't remember if it was pitching or not. So it's like, okay, let's make adjustments to the weights that we're using and the volume that we're doing here. I mean, there was so many things going on where it's not like we're going to all do this and then we're all going to do that. It just wasn't at all that way. So, now I almost need to make changes to the business model where we need to do some private training. I never would have. I used to be very much against it, but now a lot of these athletes need individualized work because they're injured or there's just 50,000 things going on with them. And so being a strength coach is not as easy as it once was. And I have guys finishing their internship with me, and I think it's been quite overwhelming for them.
There's just so much to keep track of, and you're expected to know so much. Like let's say when you come out of college, or even when you first take your little whatever job it may be in the business, they just expect you to know so much, and you can't know it all. You have to be in the business for a long time for all this stuff to form a clear picture, I would guess.
You have to do a lot of work on your own to learn, and there's a big upheaval about interns not getting paid. And so I'll share with you the model that's working for me really well. So I don't pay the interns. They're not getting paid to intern. They're getting paid by me dumping my 30 plus years of knowledge into them. That's going to pay them back for a lifetime if they choose to be strength coaches. Once they show proficiency, I allow them to do private training at the gym during off hours and keep all the money. So I also give them some business skills. Like, hey, here's the kind of money you want to charge for privates. Here's how you want to collect the money so you don't get no-shows. Once you get through the underground strength coach certification and you're here for X amount of time, then your private training rates should go up. Once they get hired, then they do a split with us. So a certain percentage basically goes to the house, to the underground strength gym. Their second year, that split becomes more for them. The third year, even more for them. So there's rewards for loyalty. And of course, the smarter you get, the more you can charge. So I help them with that. So I kind of start creating intrapreneurs, giving them opportunities to make money. And sometimes I've had coaches go and open their own gym or go and get hired by other places like universities or, another strength coach. So sometimes it doesn't work in our favor. When they go and work at a college, of course, that's a great thing. But sometimes another coach picks them up and you're like, oh man, we completely trained that dude up. And now the hardest thing this other coach has to do is turn on the lights. So, but it's been working pretty good. And talking about being confident in the business, let's say they all leave I would change the underground strength gym into like a place where we're constantly podcasting, we're doing lots of videos, and I would do just like private training with me. So if you want to train now it's like small group private training. I would train like 3 to 4 people per group, but super high end. So I think in business, you always need to know, you got to be ready to pivot. And so the way I describe that is you need a business agility, you know?
That's a pretty good way to describe it. I've never heard anybody say that. I'm sure somebody has, but yeah, you got to have the next plan ready for in case one would fail.
Yeah. And you know what? The way the world is changing, I don't want to say things will fail on you, but they are changing. Business is changing. The way people want to do business is changing. Like, you know, what we're doing here, 10 years ago, I was using Skype for podcasting. Before that, there was the most complicated systems for interviews. I was using a landline phone. Then when you'd hang up, you'd have to go into some website and hope that it would upload. Sometimes it didn't record or you would lose it. I mean, there was these like technology struggles because technology wasn't there. And so what I've seen in the past 20 years change. I mean, in 20 years, I can't even imagine how this is going to work with AI and just, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm probably going to see a hologram of Steve in my office. Like, that's why also I'm writing books, because books, you know, last forever. Okay. Like this book here is, let's see what year. Okay. From Bob Hoffman, York Barbell. Reprinted in 1950, original 1939. So like 80 something years old. And it still smells like a book. It's amazing. But what's going to happen to videos on YouTube, this, that, I don't really know. But I do believe books will live on forever. I mean, who knows, honestly, but that's like the one thing that's never disappeared on us yet.
That's, I enjoy conspiracy theory, and that is the one thing I have held on to, is that internet could get shut down any day, and all the information that we rely on is gone. But if you have it in a book somewhere, you can always go back and get it.
Dude, well, speaking of conspiracy theory, did you ever watch that old show with Jesse Ventura?
Oh, man, that was awesome. That was one of the best shows as far as conspiracy theories go that I had ever watched. The one funny thing about it was he would always have them like on the edge of like just really getting them, and then he'd always let them off the hook. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was one. So I'm in New Jersey, and they did the one on like this, like a chemical. I don't know if it was some sort of like lab in Long Island.
Was it Plum Island?
I'm not sure if that's what it was called, but that's where those 2 lifeguards found that like hybrid animal.
Yeah, Plum Island. That's where Lyme disease and stuff come from. Traub.
Really?
Yeah, they brought Traub over on Operation High Jump. He was a German scientist that was figuring out how to put diseases in insects, and they would send the insects in first to deteriorate the population. But yeah, I did see that when they took the boat out in the harbor and they were trying to get up there, and Coast Guard intercepted them.
Yeah, yes. And they showed, and because it was old, you know, the early days iPhone cameras or whatever they recorded, but it looked like part pit bull, part, I don't know, wolf. It was like definitely a hybrid with fangs. It was a hybrid animal that washed up on the shore. So who knows, the thing could have escaped and literally swam. So it may have actually been like a Labrador, a lab that swims. But you know, speaking of like injecting stuff with people, so of course, like on Instagram, I'll come across, you know, those videos, and then what's more interesting is reading the comments. So they're talking about like Bill Gates buying all the farmland, and then they're like, yeah, but what you also need to look at is this is the video. One of the guys who has a popular song, he has Tourette's, and he was going through like a bad he was having like a bad episode of it. So the crowd was singing, And people were like, oh, he probably got injected with the vaccine and da-da. And then all of a sudden in the comments, people are like, well, guess what? They're also injecting animals with that. And now it's the food that you're going to eat. And then somebody mentioned, we were speaking about eggs earlier. Um, they're like, don't be trying to buy those cheap eggs. You think you're saving money. And so now even more, I'm like, damn it, I got to go and buy those eggs off the side of the road because now I really don't trust anything. And down here in my office, this is the basement, I have a fridge with, I pick up my meats, the majority of my meats from a Mennonite farmer in Pennsylvania. It's like a 90-minute ride, but I need to stock up on more. You could see his animals. You could see when they rotate the cattle, and then he comes out, and I see him. I see his wife. I see his kids. The cattle look so healthy. I speak to the farmer Sean. He talks to me about like his favorite breakfast, which is like ground beef with like a raw egg cracked on top of it, and he's ripped. He's ripped. Like he's super lean and muscular. And I think talk about technology. What are we going to see with the human body in 20 years for everybody eating all of this genetically modified food? And so, of course, you've got kids and they're a little older than mine, but it's like, man, our kids are really going to be the ones, and then our grandkids are going to be born into this really frigged up world. So it's very scary.
Yeah, they're really going to have to watch what they're eating, when they're eating. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how it is out there. And I don't even know where we are even talking about strength and conditioning, but it's a pretty good conversation, so we'll just head with it. But I don't know how it is out there, but I remember when I was a kid, you would drive by a restaurant during the middle of the week, and the restaurant would be empty. If you needed to walk in there, you could walk in there and eat. You wouldn't have to wait. Everybody ate at home during the week.
I forgot that.
Now you go by a restaurant every night from 5:30 to 7:30. They are packed. You couldn't get another car in the parking lot. And it just makes me wonder how much that's affecting how we look, how we feel, how we're living our life.
So I'll segue this into the strength and conditioning. So yesterday I trained at my high school. I trained football. So my first group was JV and varsity. Second group was incoming freshmen. And so I'm always, whenever we do a closeout, I always talk to them. You want to eat steak, eggs, you want to drink whole milk. And I said, you guys have to get away from processed junk. And I tell them, I go, there's boys with boobs, boys with beer bellies, and you've got boobs and beer bellies and you don't drink beer. I was like, you have to fight back by eating strong foods and building muscle. And so anybody who's a new athlete, whether it's at my school or at the gym, they get a real simple nutrition PDF. It's basically a Word document that's 2 pages. So the kid could screenshot it. And so the kid could share with mom and dad who are quote unquote too busy. And then they just see kind of like sample ways to eat. And it transforms them if they're willing to follow through. But as you know, like our kids don't do the food shopping. So if mom and dad are not going to do this, then the kids are out of it. And so I could look at a kid's physique and see steak and potatoes or SpaghettiOs. If you don't have like a hard look to your body, I know what you're eating. Like in our house, so yesterday I had chicken and rice when I came back from the gym, and then it brought to me like we live by the beach, and there's all these like taco places and these like quote unquote fast food places. So my son and wife went. He was still hungry, so they got a bowl, and my bowl was like chicken, beef, rice, beans. My son a couple months ago didn't want sandwiches for lunch, so it's chicken and rice. I heat it up and I put it in a thermos for him. Every time I like hit him on the back, hey buddy, I could feel like his body's like hardened. Now, granted, of course, he's training. He's been doing all this stuff since he was a baby, growing up around it. But imagine if I was feeding him. I don't know what's actually going on in the normal American household, what they actually eat. When I see kids with boobs, I don't know what they're eating. I'm assuming every day is pasta and probably lots of like fast food, McDonald's and soda and just absolute poison. And so when kids eat like that, it cancels out all the training. Like I watch the training you're doing and I love it. Sprinting, lifting, jumping, freedom to move on a farm. That's like the 80s when you were playing in the street and lifting very basic. And, yesterday was a good reminder for me to really stick to the basics because on the way home from baseball, I'm listening to this podcast. And the guy is a young guy who's being interviewed. And he's out in Seattle at a place called Driveline Baseball. Have you heard of Driveline?
I don't think I have, no.
Driveline's it reminds you of like the West Side Barbell for pitchers. They're maxing out on throwing, all different types of throws. So it's like they use the conjugate method. They'll do a run-in throw, kneeling throw, like mixing it up to just teach the body to max out. And they lift heavy. So he asked them, like, all right, you're interning at Driveline and you're a baseball pitcher yourself. What are you seeing? He's like, well, after you pitch real hard, just rest. He's like, you already did the damn thing. Don't get all crazy on all the bands, this and that. Just rest. Take a day off. Then the next day, do isometric holding. Hold the top of a push-up. Hold the middle of a push-up. Get on a bench. Do the I, Ys, and Ts, but hold for long times. Like try to hold it. Then he said, do so that's called yielding isometrics, holding. Then overcoming isometrics would be, I'm like holding this position and you've got bands around me. You're pulling the bands and I'm resisting it. So I'm holding the position, but you're pulling it with a band or somebody's pushing on. He said, do those. He said, and then get strong as shit. He's like, put on body armor. He's like, build muscle all around the shoulders and arms. He goes, get fucking huge. Now, maybe that's not the most scientific, but what he said then is, you want to protect the body. He's like, you want to build the tendons, the ligaments, the soft tissue with getting strong and building muscle. So you'll see these guys squatting with a straight bar. But if I'm training a baseball player, sometimes I overthink it. I'm like, we got to be on a safety bar. Kid will be 14, like God forbid he touches a straight bar. Or you're benching, Swiss bar. We have so many specialty bars. I haven't looked at their YouTube channel for a while, but last time I did, they didn't have any specialty bars. They were squatting straight bar, benching straight bar. That's usually like, a big no-no in baseball. But I had my son listen to it. I said, you're on the right track. Keep getting huge, keep building muscle, and throw hard. They want you to throw hard consistently so you kind of build the tissue tolerance for that. And so when I look at the kids of today, I'm like, we got to just run every day. Yet if you dig down into the science, the books will be like, only run hard twice a week. These kids were supposed to be running hard every day of the summer since they were 5 years old, 6, 7 years old, but they're not. Yesterday, I was thinking about you because when I had to train the freshmen, we had to leave the turf because I trained varsity JV. They were going to now do their skill work, went to the back of the school, and we did like a basic dynamic warm-up, skipping, lunging, side shuffle, frog jumps. Then I did tag games with them. Capture the Fox, where you put your t-shirt in the back of your shorts, and it's like the wolves are chasing you. They don't know that they're sprinting, cutting, dodging. Then at the end, we had like 4 trees. They were kind of like this. So you ever see the colleges do the swerved running?
Mm-hmm.
But they got cones and ropes and all this shit out. I had fucking trees. So we had two lines, and I just said go, and they had to swerve, run around the trees, and then come back. They had to do a linear sprint, and I was like, this is absolutely perfect. We should be fucking doing like 5 of these, 8 of these, 20 of these. Granted, they were crushed from the tag game and all that stuff, but a lot of them couldn't run fast because they don't have strength. So what are we going to be doing a lot? Squatting and squatting. So the next 3 weeks, especially for JV and varsity who are using barbells, we train Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I haven't done this in a long time. They're going to do a squat volume mini cycle. So we train Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the summer. Tuesday, they're going to squat heavy for sets of 3 to 5. Wednesday's going to be an upper body day. Thursday will be full body, but I'm going to do squats again, speed, for 3 to 5. So let's say you squatted 225 for 2x5 on Tuesday. On Thursday, you'll squat like 135 for speed every set, fives. I want to do more squatting and bending and just working their legs with some volume. And so I came up with that idea listening to a podcast with Tommy Moffitt and Aaron Osmus, Double A. And Double A said, yeah, we squat twice a week. I was like, man, why have I not squatted twice a week with our athletes in a while? So we're squatting twice a week for the next 3 weeks. It's going to be good.
Oh, that'll be amazing for him. I know I know here we squat twice a week. We kind of hold to some of what Louis did. We got the real dynamic day, and then we have the heavy day, and then our sprints revolve around when our heavy days are. So we'll usually sprint on upper body days, and then we'll work on acceleration on lower body days.
I like that. I also like we at my high school, most of the teams will train 3 days a week or 2, but football trains 4. Check out this breakdown. You're going to love this, Steve. It's great. So in the off season, when we train 4, I have a lower body day with some upper body calisthenics, and you're going to hill sprint. The next day, upper body day with lower body jumping. I'll add jumps. So it's technically full body days, but the volume of work is lower and then a little bit of upper, like calisthenics.
Mm-hmm.
The volume of work might be upper, but maybe we throw in some jumps, and then we probably hill sprint. Okay. Then we got the full body day with sprinting, jumping, and all the full body exercises. Then day 4 is my favorite. We call it prison day, where it's like breaking the rules, high volume. Think about guys in prison. Everything is like 100 reps, 100 push-ups, 100 pull-ups, or 500 reps. So it's a lot of volume. It's like a lot of arms. It's breaking the rules of training. And so, I was fascinated with inmates training. So it was like 05, 06. I went and spent like half a day in a very maximum, like I think it's a maximum security prison. It was in the movie Lockup. Did you see that with Sly?
Yep.
So that was called, they call it Rahway State Prison, although the real name is East Jersey State Prison. So I went in there, I interviewed inmates, and the guy told me, like, before he goes and gets breakfast, 5 sets of 50 push-ups every morning. The guy who was the biggest guy was part of their early days powerlifting team. He did one body part a day, Monday through Friday. Then Saturday, he does all these bodyweight exercises, 100 reps, and then Sunday's off. The guys who were doing all the push-ups and stuff were part of the early days boxing team. So, of course, they were believers in calisthenics. And they told me how they trained. So on Thursdays, call it prison day, but it's like a body armor day where I want high reps, lighter weight. Because training 4 days in a row, I'm not really a fan of it. But the football coach and the other guys were like, hey, that's what we always did. So, okay, I'll do it. You want me to do what you always did? I'll do it. And, not all the kids are, some kids go to private coaches. But a lot of kids, their parents don't do that. They're like, yo, you got a strength coach here. You're going to do that. And so I love, especially it's like a lot of the kids on the JV team. You know what I mean? It's kids that they're probably not going to even hit their peak senior year. They'll hit their peak like 23, 25 and be like, man, Coach Evanesh showed me how to clean and squat. And here I am now, Jack. Like, it's going to take years. But that prison day is a fun, break the rules day. And at my gym, we call it Wacky Wednesday. So on Wednesdays, I let the athletes kind of help me create a crazy training session. And some of those training sessions are really good and very tough, And so I love those kind of days because I believe in that stuff. Very much like you probably read this book, right? This was an early, important book for coaches to read, Dinosaur Training. Lots of, coaches don't even know what that book is. And so that was, the late 90s. I think Dinosaur Training was 96 or 98. This book's, 1996. 4th edition was 2004. This book is, I don't even know if Brooks is publishing it anymore, but we need people training with thick bars, kegs. I remember buying VHS tapes from Brooks where he was training in his backyard. He had a log with handles drilled into it. He would put chains around it to do like heavier weight. He was throwing kegs all in his, I can't remember where he lived. Maybe he was in like Kentucky or something. So I feel like he was somewhere in the Midwest or center states. But he was like training in his backyard, front yard, the garage, and lots of emphasis on heavy lifting. And of course, odd objects, which is something they don't do much of today.
No, they don't get out much. That's the one thing I do enjoy here is it's private, so we can kind of do what we want, is try to get outside and do something so they're not stuck in between four walls with everything they do.
Where do the kids how are the kids finding out about you, Steve? A website or?
No. So this is crazy, and I never talked about it on a podcast, but during COVID, all the gyms shut down, and it was just me, and I was just working out by myself. Well, the gym shut down, and I had some old weights at the house, so I decided to drag them out. Well, my nephew and one of his friends came out that I'd known a long time, and they were both wrestlers, and one was a baseball player. We went to go fishing. It wasn't even about weights. We went to go fishing, and they showed up, and they're like, "Hey, you got a setup? It looks like you've put on some size. Can you give us a place to lift?"
Nice.
They lifted. My nephew, he ended up signing with Ottawa to play baseball. Cole, he won state that year as a wrestler. And my nephew took
in Missouri?
Yeah, my nephew took fifth that year. So then that turned into another wrestler. And then slowly they just were talking about it. They all know each other and they all talk about it. And
Yes.
Then all of a sudden I go out there now and you can't find a spot to park your car. I mean, there's
That's
just that many
amazing.
kids, and it doesn't cost them anything. They just come out for free. It was just something we felt like we
That's
wanted to
amazing.
do. So, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it this year, but originally it started with, if you came to the gym Friday nights football, you got a meal delivered to the school. I would make the food Thursday night, and I would take it I'd have a kid come out and pick it up Friday morning, and then they had food to be ready for the game. Now I have so many, I don't know if I'll be able to do that, but we just did little stuff like that.
You're making a meal for them. What do you have?
Typically we were sending a care package in, so we would send in a liquid IV pack, a water, a Gatorade, usually a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, a bag of chips. Then we'd send in some sort of granola bar, and then I would make the main course. So whether that be chicken and noodles, whether that be they really liked huli huli chicken and rice, or spaghetti and meatballs.
What's huli huli chicken?
It's a Hawaiian style chicken, and it's grilled, and it's got a really good sauce on it. If you ever get a chance, you ought to check it out. It's really good.
Where'd you learn to do that?
I just saw it, I liked it, and cooking's something I enjoy, so I would try it out on the boys, and then so I'd send them in a main lunch, and then they'd be good to go for the
love
day.
Peanut butter and jelly, dude. I love, and that's like me. I tell people, like, if I look at bread, I get fat. But I used to love peanut butter and jelly. My son now he's going through the phase of peanut butter banana toast.
Yeah.
A toast, and we were at an Amish farm and picked up natural peanut butter.
Oh, I bet that was good.
Oh yeah, it's so good. What's the I love the logo. Where did you come up with Voodoo Power? Where did you come up with that?
Okay, so I'm not, my path wasn't like yours. I mean, I've listened and read your books and the stuff you had. I mean, you always knew you wanted to be a strength and conditioning coach. I never saw myself doing anything like this. So I always wanted to ride horses. That's all I did. I just wanted to cowboy. Well, somehow I was working with some horses, and I don't know, that conversation come up about doing that voodoo thing you do with the horses. I'd get them bent around and get them softened up, and then I'd hand them off to somebody else that was getting ready to ride them.
Okay.
So then that turned into Voodoo Ranch. So when I was riding all the horses all the time, it was Voodoo Ranch. And then, the powerlifting.
Is that the name of your ranch? Voodoo Ranch?
Yeah. Yeah. So then the then the lifting started, and then we had to come up with something. So we're like, you know what? Let's just stick with everything we had with the ranch, and we'll just throw it in, and it'll be a Voodoo Power, and we'll go from there. And then we found this logo that you see behind me that we liked, and we tweaked it, and we got it how we wanted it, and
love it.
Then we got them are all our shirt based. So, kids, they'll show up for a while and they'll leave.
Yes.
So when Cole and Trevor were here when we first started, we come up with shirts. So once you were here, you had to be here 2 cycles. So you had to be here 2 months, which a lot of kids won't make it 2 months.
Really?
And now they do, but in the beginning they didn't. You know what I mean? It was just hard. It was just hard work. So we had a Ronnie Coleman shirt you got for being here 2 months.
What did the Ronnie Coleman shirt say?
If everybody wants to be a bodybuilder, but nobody wants to lift heavy ass weights.
So that was what on the back of the shirt?
That was on the front of the shirt, and then it had a Wyoming cowboy, and it said Voodoo Power on the back, up like between the shoulder blades.
You're in Missouri or Wyoming?
I'm in Missouri. I just have a affinity for Wyoming and cowboys, and I always wanted to be a cowboy. I lived in Wyoming a few times. I don't know. It's a crazy connection, but anyhow. Then you had to set your goals, and they couldn't be like stupid goals like 10 pull-ups. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like my nephew, he wanted to play college baseball, so he didn't get the logo shirt until he signed to play college baseball. Cole he was going to the Rocky Mountain Invitational wrestling, and his team won the Rocky Mountain Invitational. It was the year they had it in Independence. They actually didn't have it in Wyoming. So he was a national champion as far as that goes. So then he got his shirt. My daughter, when she was at the gym, she wanted to sign to play college softball. So she got her shirt that way.
Earn them. That's how I've always, I don't want to say, when in the early days, I'd never sold my shirts.
Right.
Getting somebody to make your shirts online and all that was non-existent. So I would buy shirts. One of the kids I trained, his mom had like this t-shirt company. And so if you had qualified for the state wrestling tournament, you got a camouflage underground strength shirt. You had to earn your shirt. Today, I got to tell you, with the convenience of everything, convenience of food, convenience of 5,000. Like yesterday while we were training athletes, I'm like, nobody's switched on like we are. I'm like, but parents will take their kids to other places and they don't even know what we're doing for their kids. Meaning, like, we got a kid who should really be training with a physical therapist. Not really, but you would never think, a strength coach knows how to rehab somebody's torn labrum and prepare him for the sport of wrestling. Yeah, we do. And I can't imagine kids go to another gym and in a group of 10, 5 of them need something special. And the coach is like, sure, bang, bang, bang. And we had like one kid was doing great, younger kid, soccer player. And the dad just emails us. He's like, yeah, we're ending the membership this month. I'm like, do you even know what's happening here with your son? Your son is killing it. Like, he's amazing. His confidence is built. It's like they don't even understand what we're doing, no matter how much we try to convey it through our emails, because parents are not allowed in the gym. We don't have a waiting room. We don't have an area you could see what your son is doing. We don't have that. So they're just, even people, it's like, before you could come and do a trial workout, you must read the website. So when they go on the website and fill out an interest form, I always respond, please let me know when you've read the website thoroughly from top to bottom, and then we could hop on the phone. So I'm not even talking to you until you know everything on the website. And still, people might lie to me and say, yes, I've read the website. And then they're like, so tell me how membership works. And I tell them, remember when I asked you if you read the website? It tells you the pricing. It tells you what's the minimum membership. But people are so busy on their phones scrolling away with a finger. They've got 5 seconds of commitment, 5 seconds of focus. And so, you mentioned Missouri, like, I know a kid, he wrestled at Mizzou for 1 semester, and then he left, got to the Navy. Now he's in DevGru. His younger brother wrestled at Cornell and is trying to get, he may be in DevGru. He was going through the whole process, but they're both SEALs. And it's like, there you go. That's commitment. It's not 5 seconds or 5 minutes. Those guys were working. They had a vision. And I think that is missing today. The whole, I'm going to stick to it and I'm going to battle for this. And I know it's not going to last 5 months. It's going to be years of work. And nobody wants to hear that. Matt Wenning talks about that quite a lot, that you should not be thinking about 30 days to this, 6 weeks to that. You need to think long term, but that's a advanced thought process from a coach. And I don't think coaches even want to think that way, because even at the college level, kids transfer in and out now all the time. So like, it's really such a tricky way now, because you want to plan long term, but you just can't, because from the receiving end as a coach, those coming in don't have the commitment. And so you gotta instill it in them, and you have to instill it in their parents. And if you're at the college sector, you have to instill in them that we're going to be training all year round. There's going to be some downtime here and there, but you're going to be showing up all year if you want to be great. And that's like a very foreign concept today.
And that seems like maybe what it took out here was for them to see. I think a lot of them are used to it not working. They've worked out on their own. Maybe they've worked out with somebody that didn't quite understand what needed to happen. So they're not used to seeing results. They're not used to seeing success. And then, so if you come out here and, probably not much to do on my doing, just them showing up, we got them some success. Well, then that brings in more, and then they stay longer. Then they have more success. It takes so long to build that base where kids can say, hey, if I put the time in there, I will be where I want to be, or even past that.
Once they see results, that changes things. And going back to the conversation on nutrition, if the nutrition at home is not supported, then they're not going to see results. I mean, I see this all the time. I have to tell parents, listen, your son came to the gym today. He trained at 5 p.m. He skipped breakfast. He ate 1 slice of pizza and a Coke for lunch. He has not eaten since then. When you signed up, we gave you a nutrition PDF. We email nutrition tips all the time. I need you to be a part of this team. Oh, he knows how to eat. He refuses to make eggs. He refuses to eat this. He wants to get lean, so he's going to starve himself. It's like, we've been training this kid for I don't know how long, and you're telling me these dumb things. Look, mom and dad need to say, you're eating. Sometimes my son says, I'm not that hungry. Me and my wife know that if we fix a plate and put it in front of him, he's eating. He's going to eat.
Well, going into that, that's why we started the food on Friday. Originally that wasn't part of the deal, but for the gym guys, that's why we started the food. We went to a football game, I want to say it was 2 years ago, and it was hot. It was early part of the year. They're sweating. They're puking on the field. They're cramped up. Dang near lost the game because some of your top players are cramped up and can't play. I mean, I don't have an answer for fixing all that, but in my mind, it's like, I wonder what they ate. So we started talking to them. Most of them don't eat breakfast.
Yep.
They eat a really early lunch, and it's a school lunch, so it's like a 600-calorie lunch.
It's
then
like
they go
10:15 a.m. they eat lunch.
Yeah. Then they go the rest of the day. They don't eat anything. After school, they may run down to Casey's or somewhere like that, get a couple pieces of pizza.
I heard of Casey's. They make like the chicken. They make like chicken fingers?
They make all sorts of stuff, man. But they're really here. That's where everybody goes for their pizza, because we live in the country, so it's Casey's Pizza. But it's a Midwestern thing for sure.
Well, I heard Tommy Moffitt talking about it with Aaron Osmus. Aaron Osmus said that like when he was done training athletes on a Friday out of his garage, he'd order like a massive thing of Casey's chicken tenders.
Yeah, and so I know I kind of jumped around a little bit there, but the original 2 boys that came, it was during COVID, so we was rotating at work, so I was home. They were out of school. They'd show up. When they got here, the first thing they do is they would call Casey's and order a breakfast pizza, and then they'd hit their lift. And
What's
then
a breakfast pizza?
So it's just your regular pizza crust, but it's got sausage, egg, cheese.
Oh, nice.
It's just got all your breakfast stuff thrown onto a pizza.
That's amazing.
So they'd order one of them, and then when their workout was done, they would go pick it up, and then they'd just kill it.
That's what kids need to do. Let me see if I deleted this message, but a buddy of mine, two of my buddies, they coach in New Jersey. We were texting yesterday. Here's what he said. Kid threw up. He said, I had a kid projectile vomit all over the hallway today while I was introducing a lift. I hope you boys also had a great day. He said, we essentially had 3 sprints and an upper body lift for the record. So they warmed up, they did some sprints. They probably, if he has freshmen, he says he just dumbbell benches them, because we were having a conversation. I said, my incoming freshman, at least 25% can't do 1 push-up. He said, it sounds counterintuitive, but that's why I use benching first. He's like, I also order a bunch of 25 and 35 pound barbells for that reason. He's like, I'm going to build muscle on them. So I do the same, but yeah, I've seen kids throw up from doing just a little warm up. And I shared it on a recent podcast I did. I said, years ago at my first gym, if a kid got sick, he'd run outside, he'd go to the fence against the parking lot and throw up. Then I get to this gym, been here 10.5 years, and the kids, people are always like, kids haven't changed, adults have. No. Kids would throw up. I had a kid throw up on my turf. I had a kid go out into the alleyway and be like, I don't feel so good, sits down, throws up on himself and just sits there, like doesn't get up. I remember in high school watching a kid like walk over the garbage, throw up, okay, wipe his face off, and come back and practice. Kids are different. Like, people want to say they're not. If they're not, then we wouldn't need these different communication skills. And kids are physically different. They're emotionally different. They eat differently. I'm sure kids skipped breakfast back in the day. I mean, my breakfast in high school was bowl of cereal. Then I started getting into 2 sandwiches, come home, chocolate milk and peanut butter and jelly, go to the gym, dinner, whatever my mom made. Then at night, dinner leftovers. But my senior year, when I was finally done wrestling and not thinking of weight, okay, now I'm going to have 4 eggs. I'm going to make 2 egg and cheese sandwiches, 2 eggs on each. It just changed the way. But I was learning and reading about nutrition. Today, I think kids just look at Instagram, and those guys are sharing kind of complicated stuff. They're not saying, hey, guys, like for that book, Super Squats. They're talking about, like, you ever read Super Squats, Steve?
I don't think I have.
Oh, damn, bro. They have the Get Big drink, and it's like a big blender, and you mix it all up, and then you're supposed to drink it throughout the day. But it's like eggs and olive oil and milk and banana and protein powder and this and that. And like, it's just loaded with, protein, carbs, fats, and calories. Seeing these kids getting sick or seeing these kids show up without muscle, we need like bodybuilding work to kind of get back into the hands of these kids. That's why I love the books from the 50s and 60s, because they would do 3 workouts a week, full body, and you squatted and military pressed every workout. And they called it like breather squats, 20 reps. What's your I see you like training on the farm. You guys are sprinting, jumping, lifting. Who has been your like deep dive? Who have you been influenced by the most that you research a lot from?
So I started out by myself like everybody else, and just kind of started out in the little bit of a bodybuilding world, and just kind of worked through and was trying to find something sustainable that I wanted to do for a long time to keep me in a gym. Well, I ran across Louis Simmons, and so I went down that rabbit hole. Well, then that took me to Dave Tate, and then started watching all the table talks and just acquiring information there.
Nice.
Well, then I got into some of the Matt Winning stuff, and he's been on the podcast, and then I got into 531 and a lot of Jim Wendler stuff, and then went down that rabbit hole. And then I just started collecting books. So then I bought Boyd Epley's book, and then I started going through that. Then I bought
which Boyd Epley book?
I think he only wrote
old one.
I think he only wrote one, and I'm trying to think of the name of it now that you just asked me. I'll send it to you after the podcast. I've got it out in the gym. I got quite a few books out there. Well, then I looked into the Cube with Brandon Lilly, and then I bought some. I use thriftbooks.com That's not a plug for them. They don't sponsor me in any way, but maybe they could.
I buy used books on Amazon all the time.
Yeah, so I went and bought the NSCA training textbooks. So I started going through them. I bought some Verkhoshansky stuff. I bought. So I just keep buying them, and I keep
all
going
good rabbit
them.
holes.
Yeah,
you went down all good rabbit holes.
I got lucky that I found the right direction that I wanted to be in. Now I do have some bodybuilding books out there, and I keep a lot of them in the gym so the boys can go through them, they can look at them, they can see what we got, and then they can see that it's important that you have that stuff and that you're reading it and that you know what it means. You know, like you said, times have changed so much that you just hop on Instagram or something and you think you understand a little bit from a 30-minute or a 30-second video. Well, you really didn't see much. You just seen what they wanted you to see. So buying the books, reading them, that's what's important.
I think it makes you think. So the guys interning for me now, every week they have to put together maybe a sample training day, a 2-week mini cycle. Hey, this kid is a baseball player and basketball player. He has 30 days of training experience with us. Show me a 2-week mini cycle. I make them write it in a notebook because you think that way. You think you're more creative. I have a lot of books on PDF. I hate that. Like, I'm going to show you my, see all the books here.
Yeah, and I see you post them all the time. All the new books you got. That's amazing.
I think that, where did my charger go here? I think my computer's good. The issue is they read everything on a phone or computer, and you're not deep diving. You're not writing notes and thinking about stuff. And you know, you mentioned breakfast. My wife texted me. She's like, Ethan needs breakfast. I'm like, can I make a fucking pizza breakfast for this kid right now? You got me really like thinking on how to make food. But you have to read. And I think you got to read physical books. Look, some people could do it on an iPad through Kindle or whatnot, but then are you taking notes? Like, I have notes. I'm not writing in these older books, but I have, you know, you mentioned Dave Tate. Ironically, Dave has all of these. He bought them from Dr. Michael Yesse's, the Soviet Sports Review. So, of course, I'm like looking through them all. They all have the same kind of cover. I open one and it has like power training for wrestlers. And I was like, what's my luck that this is going to happen? Yeah, there's articles in here from Bondarchuk. So I went on eBay and I purchased this. Yeah, this is speed training for wrestlers. Individual of a wrestler's preparation. And I thought what's interesting is like, you know, when we jump, we're always like, hey, we're going to jump 3 reps, 5 reps. Here they're talking about jumping. It says fast squats 20 or more times. And I like how, like, it wasn't perfect, right? Most sports scientists would be like, after 3 reps, you know, power output declines. Well, what if we never knew that power output declines? We wouldn't even communicate that to the kids. You know, for the trunk, leaning to the side from blows 15 or more times. So I think it's like you're dodging. You're dodging stuff, or maybe you're getting hit. From a supine position with the arms crossed on the chest, sit up and touch the knees with the elbows 10 times. Arch backwards from a half squat 15 or more times. So that would mean back arch. You know, I have this wall. My first gym had a cinder block wall. I had the guys do the bridge walking on it. Or if you look at my old YouTube videos, they walked across the steel beam using their hands. So it's pretty cool. Like general conditioning, fast action movement games for speed with a partner, with a team. What did I do yesterday?
Yeah.
Capture the fox.
Right. And it carries over so well. You and me both think the same on books. So this is why I like hard books. And me and Justin Harris talked about this. So Tom Dorrance, when I was riding horses, he was a hero of mine, and he died back in the early 2000s, but he was he may have been the greatest horseman to ever live. Well, I bought his book.
What's his name?
Tom Dorrance.
And what did he do?
He worked with horses and people all over the country, but he wrote a book. So I had this book and I'd read it, I don't know how many times. And I don't know, one day I got to thinking, I was like, okay, so let's say I ran into Tom Dorrance and he asked me if I had his book. And I said, yeah. And then he asked to see it. If I handed him a pristine book that I had taken care of and just cherished, would he be happy with that? Or if I handed him a book that was highlighted up, had notes in the margins? I've got notes that I took on notebook paper that are tucked in the pages because I ran out of room in the sides. I was like, if I wrote a book, that's what I'd want to see somebody do to my book, not just show me a book that looked like it come right off the shelf that had never been used. So now I destroy books when I get them because I got a highlighter as the first thing and notes in the margins. I mean, they're there as a resource, so that's how I use them now.
It makes you think. And, dude, I hate to do this. So my wife's like, make it fit. So I got like 5 minutes.
No problem.
But I think that as coaches, if you're not learning beyond Instagram and YouTube, I get it. You need that. Those videos are great. If you're not reading, and look, I'm reading every day. And I started coaching, not strength and condition, but I began coaching the end of 1995. And over 20 years ago, I began the strength and conditioning sports performance stuff, 4 hours a day minimum coaching. And so I'm doing it over 20 years and I'm still reading. That's why I share these with my coaches so they understand, like, if Zach is still reading, I should be reading. And so I said to the guys, like yesterday, they showed me their workouts that they had to do. And I said, guys, you're not reading the PDFs I sent you multiple times. I'm like, did you read the underground strength system that has several years of workouts? Like, I put in there, I saved all the Google Docs of like training the college wrestling teams. It's in the underground strength system. I'm like, you could read it from sometimes you got to sit in front of your computer and read. It should be, or I'm on a podcast. I'm just always listening, reading, watching. I'm constantly consuming. So my message to the younger coaches is you have to keep bettering yourself as a coach. You should be excited to do it.
Yeah, it should be a rabbit hole that you're looking forward to, and then you should go and test it out. You don't gotta buy you don't have to buy in all the way, but try it out, see how it does, and then
I love that. Yeah, do it. You know what our interns do in the beginning? You train with every group. You train with high school on Monday. Tuesday, you're with middle school. Wednesday, you're on a kid with his first day trial. Thursday, you're training with the kid with the torn labrum. Friday, you're training with the kid who has a broken foot but shows up in a boot. How do you work around it? And when a guy is like, oh, but I'm on this program, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. You're young. You could train 10 hours a day and I don't care if you're following, the old juggernaut or cube method. You're on our system because I'm training you to coach here. So don't tell me you're too good to fucking train. And, that's like, I'm done. I'm kind of past like, oh, I feel bad saying that. No, I used to do the craziest shit and I was fine. Like, I remember squatting 50 sets because I read Arnold did it in Education of a Bodybuilder. He would go to the woods, put 250 pounds of weights in the back of his car. Him and his training partner would squat until they couldn't walk. He's like, then we would grill chicken over the fire and, drink wine and have sex with the women and be like gladiators. And so I was like, why can't I squatted 50 sets and I was fine. Today, kids come home from college and do 10 sets of squats and a couple prowess sprints and they're in the hospital. So it's like, how? You're like sprinting and squatting 10 sets? That's not hard.
It's a mindset is a lot of it.
Yes.
Arnold had his own mindset, and you weren't
right.
going to tell him any different. Well, Zach, I appreciate it. It's a holiday. We got up early to do this. I would love at some point to do another one whenever you get time, which I know you're very busy. Or two. There's a lot of ground we could really cover. I think we have a lot of common interests. But I hope you enjoy yourself today, and you guys have fun at the beach.
Boom. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it, my man.